Inspector, thank the deity you're here! The Kallax general was practically yellow with desperation, or perhaps anxiety. Inspector Gar took his time settling into the offered chair. Partly it was to give General Fladus a moment to compose himself, and partly because he was by nature very methodical. So, General, why don't you start by telling me why you called me in? It's a nightmare. Every time we try to get information from one of these Terrans, the interrogator dies. They're taken to the chamber naked and secured to the chair. The interrogator walks in and 5 minutes later they die. The Terran doesn't even move. I assume you have a recording of one of these incidents? The inspector asks. Of course. He gestured to the wall screen and hit a control on his desk. The video played out exactly as described. The interrogator walked in, the door was closed, and he started talking with the prisoner. The conversation lasted for about 3 minutes, then the interrogator clutched his throat and died, the Terran never moving from his chair, until the guards came back 10 minutes later. Inspector Gar sat in silence, mulling over the evidence. General Fladus started to speak, but was quickly silenced by the inspector, holding a single finger in the air. I'll want to speak to the Terran, but first take me to that chamber. Arriving at the interrogation room, the inspector spoke again. I will enter alone, if you please, and close the door behind me. The room was bare. Solid stone floor, plain white walls with no cameras and nothing on the ceiling apart from the light, air conditioning grill and a video camera. The seat in the middle of the room was made of plain steel and bolted to the floor, arm and leg shackles welded securely in place. Again, Inspector Gar stood in silence for several minutes, his eyes occasionally darting to one of the few fixtures of the room. Eventually satisfied, he rapped lightly on the door. Speaking to the guard escorting him, he asked, Where is the Terran now? At this time he should be in the yard getting his daily exercise, sir. Excellent. Take me to him at once. The exercise yard was a square 20 metres aside, flanked by high stone walls. Wires between the walls prevented any rescue by air. The ground was bare concrete, broken up by occasional bushes planted in large pots and scattered benches, on one of which the Terran was seated. Greetings, human. I'm Inspector Gar. May I know your name? Good afternoon, Inspector. Private Second Class Johnson. Pleased to meet you. The inspector took the pre-offered hand and gripped it briefly before letting go. How are you being treated here? Everything is satisfactory? Yes, sir. My cell is about as big as my entire barracks, and the bed is about as comfortable as any I've slept in. And the food, how is that? Better than we got in the army, if I'm honest, sir. Meat, fruit, vegetables, all the vitamins and fibre my mother could have wished for. Very good. It seems you are being adequately cared for, so I will leave you to your exercise. Good day, Private Johnson. Back in the General's office, Inspector Gar was explaining to Fladus the simple changes to procedure he should make. All future interrogations should take place in the exercise yard, or worst case inside the prisoner's cell. Also, as a suggestion, don't call it an interrogation. Maybe just a conversation or a welfare check. You'll get far more information that way. I'll also send you an updated menu for the prisoner's meals. But how will that help? The General asked, puzzled. Are you at all familiar with the poison gas, hydrogen sulfide, and how it's created? The inspector asked instead. It's something to do with organic waste and some specialized bacteria, I believe. But how would the Terran gain access to something like that without us noticing? There's a phrase in Terran literature you should research. Silent, but deadly.